I think I have had the chance to talk to each one of you one-on-one over the last 2 days. So I think the way I wanted to have this discussion or amongst ourselves, right, more so, first the people in the audience, let me just once again reintroduce the audience to you, that the audience here are a lot of young entrepreneurs who are getting into this industry, who have started their own brands. And then there are some of the younger ones who have joined their legacy brands, the family businesses. And then there are the ones who have been running these legacy businesses and are right now excited about all the opportunities which they are seeing, whether it's coming from e-commerce or whether it's coming from new products or even the international competition I've heard is exciting them, that we never thought Indian consumers will respond to these kind of premium products. So they are actually excited about international brands coming in and opening those vistas for them, and they're wanting to hear more about it. And specifically, name to name, they have mentioned it to me that this is the brand and this is the company who's going to be on your panel. We have many questions from them, and do allow us chance to ask those questions. So I think how we will split it, we'll split it 50-50. We'll spend half the time maybe talking amongst ourselves and listening to your views, and then we'll leave around 25-30 minutes for audience to ask the questions. And so audience, please, I'm talking on your behalf, so don't disappoint. Be ready with your questions. You have to fill around 20-25 minutes, so maybe at least 10 questions, right? So that's the challenge you guys have there. So each one of the brands, I would like to understand that what exactly you people saw the opportunity in this sector, what are you doing there, and how you're seeing the future going forward, and leaving it very open for each one of you to tell the story, 3 to 4 minutes each. So let's start with maybe Niket, the youngest one. While you ask that you'll respond to the question, I'm still leaving it open for you, and the questions will come later. Be prepared.
Thanks, Harminder. So I think, when we at Nykaa decided that we wanted to get into lingerie, we were very clear that we really stand for growing categories and not really just taking market share. So even when you think of beauty, when we started, we said, okay, how do we grow the beauty business? And when you're in US or Europe, the way you experience beauty versus the way you experience beauty in India was very, very different. And that's the position we started from. So when we started discussing that we wanted to launch a women's intimate wear brand, that was the position that we started from, stating that, okay, what is it that's really missing in India today, with like a lot of research in terms of brands, products, globally, India, and then saying, okay, exactly how can we add value to the consumer in what they're getting today, and not really necessarily taking business from other brands. I think the problem becomes that, when you're constantly just saying, okay, I want to take business from XYZ brand, then you're just limited in your thought process as to what are the kind of products that you want to do, what are the kind of channels that you want to get into, and how do you price it. So which basically becomes a very limiting factor in terms of gross margins and profitability or P&Ls. So the same thing we did for, in fact, the latest brand Glute that we've launched. That also we actually sat down and said, okay, here we've done fairly well in women's and we're expanding strongly. We're actually opening our first EBO next week. We sell on, in fact, Amazon is the #1 channel for us, not Nykaa platforms. And yeah, we can have a good laugh about that. And then, because we want to be fair to all other brands as well, and that's a constant funny sort of conversation that we have in the office. But the point is that brands have to stand independently, and they should not be a discounted, at least that's a position that we took, that we should not do a discounted brand. So we are actually a D2C brand, single digit discounting, fully profitable, no shortcuts there. And now we've launched even the men's business, which a couple of weeks back. Again, we really went into the depths of how can we add value to the consumer. Who's this consumer? How can we take them forward? Why are they limited to one particular brand being like lion's share? What can we do next? I think that's how we've positioned our brands, and I really feel that that's the way to go as we build brands further in the market.
See, many people don't know that you come from Enamor, right?
All right, yeah. So I come from Enamor, and before that, Tommy Hilfiger and Reliance. So yeah.
Okay, so between Enamor and now when you're doing Naked, so what are you going to do differently or doing differently compared to?
So I think Enamor was it's positioned as a premium brand, more in fashion space, #1. Number two, it's for your special occasions. The pitch is typically around occasions, whereas at Naked, we've pitched it around comfort. So if you look at the latest campaign that we've done, which was with Bhumi Pednekar, I don't know if you seen
I
the
saw
campaign.
that, absolutely.
Yeah, you saw. Thank you
all
so
over
much.
the place.
Yeah, so essentially what we said was at Enamor, I think it was more a brand that we wanted to create. At Naked, we wanted to solve a problem. So here is the problem. Women don't talk about bras.
Right.
If you get two women, they don't sit together and discuss, listen, I'm wearing a very uncomfortable product. What do I do? Even mother, daughter, they don't talk. Bhabhi, sisters, they don't talk. So there are generally no conversations around bras and what will work better for you versus not. So the whole data of 80% wearing the wrong sizes is probably much higher in India. So what we wanted to do was really break that barrier and state, have a conversation. Sit down. It's a category which you can get educated about. It's a very complicated category.
Right.
It's not easy to get into. I think I'm sure somebody will cover supply chain. It's crazy. So Enamor is more about, and because that's where the market was at that time, creating a brand, premium, how do you pamper yourself, look nice on your special occasions. Naked is all about everyday, top of drawer favorites, fantastic quality, Indian product, high amount of innovation for Indian climate.
Right.
And position like that, and educating women all the way around.
Fantastic.
Yeah, thanks.
So, Lavanya, please, let's hear your experiences.
Sure. Very happy to share. Actually, yesterday when we were sitting and listening to that, she was doing stand-up comedy. She was actually addressing a lot of problem, what really women kind of face when she actually buys intimate wear, right? In terms of the whole experience around intimate wear has never been so comfortable, right? This market, I think, also when we see it's always been dominated by man, like men selling it, men manufacturing it. So there was not that safe space where women can kind of go and shop, and there was a taboo that this is the category which we cannot sell online. I think so Zivame really broke that, because it gave a safe space for women to kind of go and shop, right? Nobody's like, we have done a lot of work around sizing, like we have something called the fit code, which actually helps you tell what is the right size. You can kind of work around it. And she, at the comfort of her home, on her mobile, she can kind of shop, and the product gets discreetly delivered to her, okay? So the whole experience as such around it is very seamless. I think so the first thing what Zivame really broke, and the myth around how do you give that comfort to her to shop. Like, you're not going to a store, like I was talking to someone, they said ki usually they find men accompanying women when they have to buy lingerie, right? It becomes a very uncomfortable experience, right? You have to tell your brother or your husband to tell ki mere ko ye product chahiye. So there's a lot of judgment which kind of comes around it, right? So how do you give her that space where people are not judging either for her body type or for what she's buying or what is her intimate wear needs? So she has that discretion on what she wants to kind of buy. That's the first thing what we solved. Then we went ahead to kind of understand what is the problem she is actually facing. Like everybody is talking about bra being very technical product, very complicated. It's not unidimensional product like small, medium, large nahi hai. It is like 32, 34, 36. And so how do you kind of solve that comes to the fit, earlier before Zivame or earlier it was always concentrated on say 32, 34, 36, max 38 BC cups. आप इसमें खरीद लो जो भी है आपका fit. But the whole size range is something which nobody kind of offered. So that is something which Zivame really kind of solves about the entire range also. But I would also want to acknowledge there are a lot of people here, in terms of manufacturing who have helped us in that journey. They have helped us develop those products which resonates with the kind of consumer. One more thing what we really did is colors actually. Before Zivame, typically bras were black, nude, white. People, it is like men's vest, people really had those colors, but the colors are also something which we kind of introduced. So I think so the core for what we really did was about innovation. And also, we take pride that we are a platform. So as much as we sell our own brand, we also sell other brands. So if a consumer prefers another brand, she's more than happy to kind of come and, kind of buy on our platform. So we offer her the entire range, gives her the privacy to shop discreetly, and that kind of gets delivered. So that really helped us make that whole impact in the consumer journey in terms of how she felt over. And that I think so was, the reason why the brand really resonated with the consumer.
So is, just a follow-up point on that, is that the reason why? Because as a brand, so one is that as a retailer, you are offering, saying that, okay, I'm giving you the discrete environment where you can come in and pick up your favorite brands and get it delivered and all that happens. But when you are becoming the brand itself, right? Because over the last, one day, I've been talking to people and whatever past experience we have, brand loyalty is very, very strong. Even if somebody is buying the wrong size and the wrong brand, but they continue to buy that because there was no option to try it. So people are just too sticky about it. So how did Zivame manage to break that barrier? It's a very...
See, also, just to answer that, I think so when we were talking on yesterday's presentation, what Paki was really doing, she was talking about white spaces which are there. Either you had the premium brands who were there, or there were brands who were like servicing with the unorganized sector. What we would say is that probably not brand.
Right.
So there was a huge white space which we kind of saw when it came into, the mid-market segment where you needed good products at a great prices,
Right.
okay? So that is something which no brand was servicing. So we took a position saying that if there is no one, that's a space where we should kind of launch our own products to service that consumer. Again, one of the key things what we do in our company is about how we service the consumer. So that created that opportunity, and that kind of led to the, the private label or the brand in terms of getting into the product space actually. So it was just an opportunity what was there, and we kind of created out from there.
Well done.
Yeah.
Okay. Welcome.
Over to you, Soumya.
Soumya. So Soumya, like I said, that only question people want to ask you is that how the hell did you get that kind of valuation? So you don't need to answer that. Let people quiz you later on that. But absolutely related to that only, because it's an end journey. Like you guys saw something, opportunity, like she's saying, the space, and you came in there, created and been on it for years. And eventually, let's say, selling it to a large corporate, getting into sort of, I would call it a joint ventures, which you are getting with Reliance, and obviously many more orbits will open now. But this whole journey, starting from where you and because the end is there now, or let's say sort of not end, another beginning, the end where this kind of valuation put in. So there's a reflected glory, like people are seeing it now. I am saying 6 months ago also, if we were talking, people will see it very, very differently. A startup selling at discount and cracking, burning money, all of that. But now they see you very differently because this happened. While they should have never seen you like that, like this only. But journey is the more important part because it's still one step in that way. So that's what people would like to hear. That specifically with name, people say that, so in that panel, she's going to be there, is she coming or not coming, right? So I said, no, I hope she's coming as well. Right, so please talk to us about that. What has happened so far and what the future you're looking at, because I think opportunity is much larger even going forward.
Absolutely. So I'll start a little bit about why we started Clovia to begin with. So Neha and I come from a very small town of Haridwar, wherein we didn't have any lingerie stores at all. There used to be an auntie who would come home and sell underwear to my mom in a bag. Very secretly, okay, I will come middle of the afternoon when no one is there and just sell it and move on. And both Neha and I were very active in sports and dance, and we needed all the support while growing up. But what we ended up wearing was what our mom would stitch at home. So she would stitch a chemise sort of a thing, and that's what we grew up wearing.
Right.
And it's only when we landed in Delhi for our college and jobs that we realized that there's a product called bra that needs to be explored.
Right.
And then you would shop from the local brands, and like Lavanya mentioned that, it was all black, white, beige. And if I were spending 1,000 rupees on an outerwear, I was not willing to spend 1,500 on a bra. I wanted all the fashion. And our outerwear was evolving so fast. When I started to work, I was wearing kurtis to work, and then I started to wear shirts and pants and dresses. So our outerwear was evolving so fast, but innerwear remained the same. And even when you would walk to a retailer, there's only so many sizes that he could stock up. So while you could be a 34C, but he could only offer what he had in stock. And no mistake of his, because there's limited space for him to stock that many sizes. So that was the brand ethos. That's how the brand came in picture, that we wanted to offer a lot of fashion at a very affordable price. So we wanted to give all the comfort that she would be getting from a premium brand, premium price points,
Right.
but at a 1/5 of the cost. And given that ethos, so every time we launch a product, we test it on within the company group of girls, which, some of them stay with a joint family, some of them stay in a hostel, single, just with husband. And when the product appeals to majority of them, we know that it's a mass product. So our entire ethos is that we are a mass premium, affordable lingerie brand. And I think because we still launch about 50 new designs every week.
Wow.
So while the fits are all the same, but every time a girl will land at clovera.com or our stores, she will have something new to buy. And I think that's the mantra of our success also, that we were able to collect so much data and so much feedback and so quickly, and just went on launching more and more and more. So every time she went lingerie shopping, she had something new from us coming her way, that and we could take a higher share of her lingerie drawer. Yeah, that's
So what
pretty
would
much
be,
about
let's say, age segmentation of your consumer? Is it like really young consumers?
So we hover between 25 to 35, but there's a very significant spillover from 18 to 25 and 35 plus as well. Any college going girl really likes to buy from us because she's able to club with her friends and then buy, because we do a lot of basket offers. So she's really able to save money there and experiment with a lot of fashion. They need a new halter bra every day. So they're able to afford that.
No, that's only, let's say, when you coming from that kind of consumer inside, that's when you can offer something like that.
We're a tech-enabled company. We're tech first. So we collect almost 150 million data points, which are all consumer-driven data points. So every product that we launch, within a week I know if I should replicate this color in other products, if I should replicate this print, if I should kill it, how do I go about it. Even the designers have a ready view of how well their product is doing. So they can see the speed of sale on a daily, hourly basis.
No, I think that advantage all of you have because of being tech-enabled and being online and getting all of that, which many of the brands sitting here, because they are in the offline distribution, all of it, and that, I would say, opaqueness of apparel sector, the companies, the Brandex you represent, and then a few others in Sri Lanka. It's an amazing story. Last 20, 30 years, at least personally, I've been following up and interacting with them. So you have a plant here, but you are in an SEZ and you export. You are not selling or you are not supporting these brands here. And most of the people who are sitting here. So there are 2 points which I would like you to address. One is that when and how you possibly can support these Indian domestic brands and take the standards to the level where which Sri Lankan industry has been operating. And the second part is that how do you see this whole opportunity in manufacturing from India for the global markets? If at all you see that opportunity. You guys are doing it because you have customers, but for the Indian entrepreneurs, because like yesterday when I was talking, that's the point I was making, that this is first ready-made garment made in India, but somewhere in the global market share, we hardly have any share. We're absolutely not present there. So 2 points, support for domestic markets and route for success for the exporters.
Yeah. I'll first give a very quick introduction to where I come from, because usually brands take all the credit in the market, and we do all the work and get hidden in the background. So I'm from Brandix. So Brandix is somewhat of an old name in Sri Lanka. We started Brandix in the Apparel city in Visakhapatnam, a dedicated apparel and textile park in 2007. So over the last 15 years, we've been able to grow this 1,000-acre apparel park to employ 22,000 people now, producing 100 million pieces of garments every year. So it's a sizable operation, supplying to brands like Victoria's Secret, Calvin Klein, Uniqlo of the world. And it's an integrated supply chain, so our success had mostly been due to how closely knit the supply chain was. We were able to bring the fabric mills into the park. TJ India is the biggest mill that we have. We have Pioneer Elastic, and we have half a dozen other component manufacturers as well. That comes in very handy, especially when it comes to a product like brass, sometimes which needs about 40 different components to come together. And this supply chain enabled us to deliver the quality and speed needed for the market, which we could not have delivered otherwise. In terms of how we can support the local market, I will always defer to the expert opinion of my esteemed colleagues when it comes to what the consumers will need into the future in India. Globally, though, we've seen themes such as online purchasing, obviously, the need for comfort, the need to stay active, choice. They look for choice, they look for newness, and they value sustainability. So all those resound across brands that we work with, and I assume those will be cornerstones of any brand that tries to be future ready as well, even in India. We do produce for the Indian market in small scale. There is a duty barrier because the way the laws are structured, because we are structured as an SEZ, there's duty that gets applied on the finished goods value when we supply to the domestic market. But still we were able to sometimes share that duty with the customer and still supply to the market, especially considering that we can actually give a best-in-class product. Not only Brandix, MAS and other intimate wear manufacturers that solely target the export market actually have that ability to bring that quality, the speed, the newness to the local market. And sometimes it's worth even going through that duty structure. But having said that, Government of India and the Ministry of Commerce has also identified this as an issue that's counterproductive to the development of the industry. So right now there is a new SEZ Act that they are forming, which will enable SEZ companies to be on par with the DTA operators, so that they can also pay duty on any imported input and still supply through the domestic market. So that will open up the SEZ manufacturers as well to support the domestic market needs, and hopefully we will be able to work together in a much more collaborative, close way to develop new products, new solutions for the consumers in the years to come. Export market.
Just in between, I have one point which came to my mind, that you obviously are watching what Indian brands are doing, right? The products which they have in the market, and obviously you know what all international brands are doing, given the Brandix applies to almost all the leading brands. How much gap do you see there, and the opportunity to matching between international product ranges and the Indian ranges, and how do you see that happening?
I don't see a large gap. I mean, the brands that are there locally actually are very competitive when it comes to the international marketplace. Sometimes you follow the trends as well, so each will learn from each other. So there is a lag in that learning cycle as well. So in terms of the international markets, most of them that are into real fast fashion are forced to actually bring newness.
Right.
So we don't see that happening so far in India, where there's enough room to grow without actually, competing in this fast fashion sort of
Right.
segment.
Right.
I mean, I don't see that as a weakness. I mean, that can be a hindrance as well to growth sometimes.
Right.
So short answer is that there's not a big gap.
Okay.
And if the manufacturers who are already used to supplying to the international brands have that supply chain, have fabric that can bring that newness, come on board,
Right.
then that small gap that might be there can also be bridged.
Right. So more than you, we all are waiting for that SEZ to be sorted, because you are anyway up to full capacity running. We are not getting to buy from you. So let's hope and wish it happens sooner. Yeah, now to the second part. Export.
Yeah, so we are very competitive when it comes to the export market from India. The factors of production are all there in India. And it baffles us as well why Indian export values have not grown. I mean, Prashant was also discussing about that all this time, but we don't see a reason why. Now, government of India had also been very supportive. We know that there are quite a number of FTAs under discussion right now, and the PLI scheme that came in on textiles and PLI 2 that's about to come out will also give a lot of impetus for growth in the industry. When you bring all that together, along with the geopolitical factors around moving production from Far East to the subcontinent, we already see from our customers a lot of demand to get capacity from the Indian subcontinent. So if we bring everything together at the right time, with some of the FTAs also kicking in, there can be exponential growth in the industry for the export markets, and there's absolutely no reason why we can't grab that opportunity. The opportunity is out there. It's basically waiting for us to come and cater
But
to
how
the
difficult
demand.
it is for somebody who has never done this product to say that all these things are all dots are connecting, stars are aligning, and now this is the opportunity, multi-billion-dollar opportunity. Let's go and set up a intimate wear or lingerie manufacturing company and start manufacturing it for the international. How difficult it is?
I wouldn't say it's very difficult.
No, it's very
Yeah.
difficult, because I'll tell you, there are Sri Lankan consultants who ask not only the money, they ask for your house and your car and your everything, right?
If you give me all that, I'll share the
It's very
secrets right now.
difficult, I'm telling you.
The biggest thing is you need to have.
So you should answer it. You have done it actually. You have gone into this new category. How difficult it was?
The difficulty is in India we can buy the machines, but then you have to look out for technicians or the technology to produce. And now everything where sales is also there, where on e-format online. In productions also there are softwares, there are facilities which will enhance your product development. So there I don't see we have challenges. Yes, we definitely look upon Sri Lankan professionals in this category as they are well experienced.
Right.
So we outsource, and that's for training the other people. So that's a cost. You have to go through it.
Right.
And expats always comes at a higher price. That is there.
Why is that?
Why? Because cost of living. And when they come into a different
It's a cheaper
country.
to live in.
Huh?
India is a cheaper country. There should be a discount. Somebody comes.
Yes, 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 yes.
No. So the question, I think, for you, it's a very pioneering effort which you have done. You were busy doing your other garment export business, and then you picked up as a category that you want to get into and successfully done it. So I think that the point which I wanted to understand from you was that how has been the journey, how challenging you have found it, right? And how exciting you are finding going beyond it. Because once you have done this proof of concept, like even though it's not a small project, but it's like a first and a pilot project, how big you see the opportunity? Because in this whole room, like the whole discussion we are having on one side is the Indian market, the demand side of it and all of that. On the other side is whole manufacturing base, because in the earlier panel when Prashant and other people were discussing, that most of the people are manufacturers and the brand.
Both.
Right? They
Both.
all come from that background, but somewhere they have just they kept manufacturing only aligned to their own markets and their brands, while there's a much larger opportunity to be a manufacturer. You found that. So I think your words should be inspiring for these people. That's why we want to hear your story. More people should come and do it. I wonder why Sri Lanka has been able to do it and we have not been able to do it so far.
In India, we have never focused on this particular category. We were always, Indians do things smarter way. And when we have business with the different product lines of apparel, we have ignored this.
Right.
And until Jockey did not come and set up shop here, we had what kind of menswear or women's wear category we had. And after Jockey came also, few years later, they came into a bra project. And that project also went to Sri Lanka to source.
Right.
And then the Indian market is completely unorganized. They are brands, they are big brands. But I don't think even the big brands, any multinational, multi-millionaire is wearing it in India. These mass big brands are brands which the rural B market, B cities or it's not, I would say not premium at all, at all. Any category you can take is not premium. But in India, in Tirupur or in anywhere, we produce equally Victoria's Secret or any other products of international quality. How are we able to produce it? But when it comes to India, it is not possible. Indian brands, not possible. So here we found a challenge, and we found a company who wanted to say, I want to give something better than Jockey. I'm not worried about the price.
Right.
And the customer is ready to pay the price. And when we went into the production, decided to go for the production, we found challenges. Being a yarn company, 4 decades yarn company with process house, everything, we produce sewing thread, where is also one more problem which I will come again.
Right.
We did not find elastics in India. So with that kind of niche elastics which were out of China, as Brandix is saying, they are in the country of India, 100 acres they have a beautiful setup here, but they're not able to do business with India because of the DTA agreement.
1,000 acres.
1,000 acres they have got at 1,000 rupees. Am I right? Yes, the government gave them at 1,000 rupees.
Yeah.
And they're not able to do business in India because there's a duty. But they also fail to understand whatever comes into that land is duty free. So if they are able to tweet that their input cost is duty free, the output cost will be a duty. So there they could do business, but India MOQs they can't do. And what they are doing, international MOQs and the setup of what Brandix is having is a city in itself. Brandix is something like Tata's of Sri Lanka.
Right.
Am I right? In Apparel. So here in India, what we did at AI Manufacturing, we did a smaller Brandix, wherein we tried to get all the components in-house in the Apparel park. Right. We have spread over 6 acres of campus. So we started with elastics. We developed the elastics, which nobody will do in India, and that satisfied my brand.
Right.
Owner, who is in online market, and that product was acceptable. We started selling that product, manufacturing it. Before that product was imported in India as a product itself.
Right.
The whole garment was imported. We tried to make it in India, and we are successful. And today, every new online brand would love to handshake with us.
Right.
Immediately they get the fund, they see us. The very next minute they want to see us, set up an appointment with us. And we do a backward investment. We have a buyer, and when we expand factories.
Right.
This is what we do.
Perfect.
This is on the part of the new evolving of online businesses.
Right.
This is a category where we do menswear, and we have added up women's wear also right now. And when I talk about the roadmap of the retail brands in India, you know, one thing is most of the products are outsourced by and large. I think 10-15%, 10% would be in-house manufacturing, But otherwise, even the bigger brands will give it outsource. Now, what holds the garment is thread, and nobody is literally bothered about what kind of thread is used. He says, per dozen, I need this price. That's all.
So you're talking about the Indian brands?
Indian brands, complete roadmap. And on an offline, you don't have a customer complaint register, unlike the fellow panelists where they have the feedback from the customer.
Right.
First place, as my fellow panelist says, that they did not wanted to buy it. They had never had the comfort of buying it. Where is the comfort of giving it replaced?
Returning another trip.
इसका धागा टूट गया है, इलास्टिक निकल गई है. She will adjust and wear, or he or she.
Right.
So there is a lot of science, and same science are applied. We apply this on a production of export orders.
Right.
We do it. This is no rocket science. So here, the Indian brands, when they want to make a brand, they buy the best fabric, they buy elastic, but they have to also hold, they should think about holding the garment. Your reputation basically hangs on a single tiny thread.
Right.
And the buyer will never come back. See, the online guys will say you, what is the cost of customer acquisition, which nobody in our offline market even know about this terminology. Customer acquisition cost.
Right.
They know it. So they will take care, but in our domestic market, we don't have this.
Right.
And they are only worried about not getting, because it's not technical. It's a logistics, getting the right thread for it, asking the vendor to buy the same thing, having a control on it. Because if you don't have in-house,
You are right about that, but I think it's more and more quality manufacturers in the supply chain coming in and showing the right kind of products. Obviously, there will be competition among suppliers. They only will point it out, and the brands.
No, but there's no education, and there is no marketing. People use thread what is used in the shirt making, which has no stretch. And we have gone in fabrics by 4 by 4.
Saying that when somebody like Brandix starts doing it for the domestic market.
No, Brandix is fully a knowledgeable company. You only can learn from them. You can't teach them.
Okay.
They use.
Right.
6 years, Jockey was in India, was not using a right thread. Only when Jockey International started, wanted to source product from India, Jockey, they said all your garments are failed. 8 country technicians came here. They did not find the thread. They spoke to us. I said, we have lost a couple of pairs of shoes selling this thread. We could not sell one cone. And then after, we are selling a great. We were exporting the same thread.
Right. So if I have to summarize your point, it's very clear that if customer is not coming back to you, it doesn't mean that you made the best product and customer is fully satisfied. You need to set your standards right as per what the standards are already there. It's not that it's a discovery to be done. It's not something new to be invented. It's already there. You need to figure out what is the right kind of product to use. So whether it's the manufacturer, whether it's the brand, they all need to align on that. Only then, I think then the market expansion which we are talking about, customers only will spend more on something on which they really are delighted, and they said that yes, I can. Right? You did it with fashion, bringing more and more product. While on the product quality side of it, you are saying as a manufacturer that this is a lot of gap to be done. So point well taken, sir.
Thank you very much.
Vikas, coming to you in the last, there was a lot of intimate wear we have spoken about. Let's talk about the intimate care, the category which you have created and continue to dominate. So, over to you.
Well, I'm the odd one out here. Intimate care, of course. If I ask in the audience, how many of you uses a P-Safe toilet seat sanitizer? Wow. Yeah, and here also. No, so we also poop a day, so we also need. Okay, so coming from a very different background of aerospace and defense, one day Srijana, my wife, and I were traveling, and she got infected, diagnosed with UTI, and while she was on the hospital bed, the idea of P-Safe came in way back in 2013. We were surprised that no one in the world was doing carry-on toilet seat sanitizer spray. That is how it started. For love, with love. I think that's what I can put it like this. For 4 years, I was building something else, so didn't focus on building a category. But in 2017, when the e-commerce graduated in India, D2C was not a word that time, 2017. So I thought of building a toilet hygiene and a sustainable menstrual hygiene brand. So that is how the journey of PSafe started. The idea was to build a toilet hygiene, sustainable menstrual hygiene, sexual wellness, most recently, and beauty and personal care towards grooming. Everyone has a mission statement or a vision statement. We started with a purpose statement. The purpose was to provide a woman from puberty to menopause. Anything which we can provide, because that's what people are not talking about in India. Not even menopause, and while a girl attains puberty, they don't talk about it. So the idea was to reduce the risk of UTI and to bring in sustainable menstrual products. Government says 32%, but we as a player, we know it's 22% penetration of menstrual hygiene, like sanitary pads. The rest, 70, 78 or 77% population, or the administrator, they uses rugs, ashes, banana leaves, these kind of stuff. So huge opportunity lying there. With our products, toilet sheet sanitizer, of course, is the number one. But if you take about menstrual cups, I am sure many women in this hall also must be using menstrual cup. How it's grown. 2020 January, we were selling 1,500 pieces a month. It has gone up to 50,000 pieces a month. So 50,000 new women, or new menstruator rather, that's the right word, are adopting menstrual cups and eliminating the sanitary pads which lasts for 500 years. So PSafe is a new age brand. I'm the odd one out in my company also. My head of R&D is a 21-year-old girl. Okay. The average age in my organization is 24. Right. So we build for Gen Zs and by Gen Zs, and that is why I'm just the bagpiper of the company. Right. So PSafe is there. Idea is to be present in each and every purse. Idea is to be on every 28th day when you talk about menstruation, and to provide on the sexual wellness side, which is Domina female condoms. We are 1.4 billion people now. Why don't you arm women to take a decision of unwanted sex and unwanted pregnancy? So that has been our forte. Happy to answer.
So category creation, something which, let's say, all of us who have been to management schools all have read about it, but haven't seen it being done very, very successfully. And so all compliments to you that having created this category, and because there are not too many examples I can think of. But given this, let's say on one side we are talking about 22% women only using these products.
Administrator, that's the right word.
Yeah, exactly. So, and such low level of penetration which is happening there, but on the other side bringing in these new kinds of products which require a lot of education and a lot of selling, right? Because just nobody's there, it's latent demand, and you have to really, really go out and say that this is what we have and this is what you have to buy. So how, because a lot of people have this question that easier said than done, that you build a brand. You build a category and then build a brand there. So how did you manage that? Because the resources which are required for this, the funding which is required, how did you manage this whole journey? End of it you are successful, but must have been really demanding.
No, of course, it's, I have always been thought, I was called into conferences where I was the only man. Because we talk about menstruation, right? I'm sure, we have discussed about that. It has always been challenged, right? Why a man is doing this? So ये question करता है, यार आप आदमी हो यार, why not your wife is doing this? Of course, she's my pillar, but I talk better than her, so that's why I'm here. What we did was, when we started targeting people of my age. When I started, I was like 8 years younger. But that was wrong, because adoptability is actually happening in Gen Zs, because they are more of an explorer rather than a researcher like a millennial. And we changed gear. We said, okay, let's target Gen Zs, because they don't want to use brand which their parents are using it or mom are using it, right? So first was that. Secondly, we started placing ourselves in the place where it matters a lot, right? Airport. So almost I can 100% say that, very confidently say that 90% of the cabin crew uses our product. Right? So we are right there at the airport, at WH Smith. At the malls, we did around 5 malls. We did a pilot starting with ambience, that each and every 67 cubicles, a washroom or ambience mall, had a PSafe with a retractable thread. and they said, don't sit without using one.
Right.
You know, so it was more of making people aware, use it, and then if you sit, you may have or when did you had your UTI?
Right.
You know, all these kind of stuff. And then of course, D2C, you know, direct to consumer. It's a fad name, but I'll say that it's more of a channel rather than a business.
Right.
But we gathered a lot of information from our users, and that's why we have the maximum number of repeat buying. It's more of a consumer packaged good. I think we really did well in Instagram. We really did well offline.
Right.
We were present in dhabas, right? If you drive down to Jaipur or to Amritsar, so there will be Sukhdev dhabas writing about it. Stop here for a P-safe sanitized washroom. Right? So that attracts their businesses as well as, okay, P-safe hai, wahan par milega, so let's stop there. And once people see that, it register it, right? So these were the, and we built the trust. We had never had an MR business. MR model business is where we can go to the gynecologist to recommend or prescribe P-safe for our intimate wash. By the way, we are second to VWash.
Right.
VWash is like a 12-year-old company, and we are only, our intimate wash is like 3 years old. We have, I think we have around 1,500 gynecologists, recorded gynecologists on their own writing P-safe for anybody suffering from UTI.
Right.
It doesn't eliminate, it reduces the risk of UTI. It's one of the reasons. So a lot of NGOs, colleges, campuses, corporates.
So media, like most of the people look at brand building, they see advertising, exercise, and that's where the funds are needed. But you use digital media, you use offline media. And all,
Absolutely.
right? Referral channels to build a brand.
And we did sign celebrities as well. So what we did, we went very offbeat, right? We signed Manu Bhaker when she just won the gold medal in the Commonwealth 100-meter pistol. She was a 17-year-old shooter, right? And because she suffered from UTI, and she approached us, can I become your brand ambassador? You know,
Right.
so that kind of stuff has really helped us at a minimum valuation of spend of marketing
And
value.
you are a
dollars.
global brand.
Oh yes, we are an offline and online both. We sell in 15 countries. I can proudly say that the Indian brand, 5 of our brands are number 1 in UK, Amazon. Toiletry sanitizers is world's number 1. In India, we are menstrual cups number 1. Panty liners we are number 2. Intimate wash we are number 2 in terms of Amazon data.
Right.
And of course, we are fighting against incumbent, but it's a very, very small category. With all these, amazing founders here, P-safe still is a very, very small category, and it's gonna take years and years to reach there.
No, it will definitely. And why I pointed out that global, this thing that creating a brand, creating a category and a brand and a global brand within that, here's the success story. So it's possible to do that. And again, that's why I'm wanting you to talk about that, how you did it, because most of people generally are looking at some of the way some brands have been built and the money has been spent. And nothing wrong with that, but most of the people start seeing that as the only way to do it. Right, and compete heavily, raise a lot of money and burn a lot of money, and only then you can do it. I think your example is definitely something very inspiring.
I also want to just add it here is just you have to be in.
Yeah.
You have to take it to finish.
Yes, absolutely.
We have interacted with Anshul, and she knows that I have spoke to around 200 VCs before I got my first
Right.
fund. So just keep on doing it. बोलते हैं जिद्दी पना चाहिए यार, if you want to do something, just become जिद्दी. Just keep on doing it. You know that. There's only 22% penetration.
And you're dealing with Gen Zs, so you know that ये लोग जिद्दी हैं, right? उनको बताने की जरूरत नहीं है, हमें उनसे सीखना है. Last evening I was talking to a few of them, they are very clear, right? And sometimes you are just to shut up and listen to them, because they know what they are doing, and then support them whichever way you can.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thanks, Vikas.
It's also the power of their product. P-safe as a product, if
Right.
you use it once, there's no way that you will be able to resist telling your friends about it.
Right.
You will have to tell at least 10 girls that you've got to have it in your bag.
Yeah,
A
absolutely.
P-safe is better traveled than any one of us. It goes everywhere in a girl's bag.
It's almost WhatsApp. Once you have used it.
Thank you so much.
So Anshul, right, like they say in Hindi, पैसे का काम तो पैसा ही करेगा. Everything else is talk, ma'am. You tell us, what do we do to get your money? All the brands here, all the young entrepreneurs, they only, rest all is they lower us. Please, batao, how do you look at, how do you value, why, how will you, what shall I do, what song and dance to get money? क्या से होता है ये सब?
Simple होती है. Harminder and I know each other for so long. I think one thing he pointed out to me that our philosophy is very simple, right? We don't use jargon. So let me just give a quick introduction of what Lighthouse is all about. 16-year-old fund in India, consumer investments is what we do, right? So simple terms, mein, roti kapda makan is every person's need in the country, and that is where we figure out investment opportunities. The other way we look at it is when you get up in the morning to when you sleep in the night, what are the products a consumer is spending money on, and that is what we identify and go behind, right? Effectively, that is what we have done. And just to give you an idea in terms of what I mean by that, companies like BKG Food, matlab, there are people who swear by saying, yes, I need to get health conscious, etc., but bhujia is there on our palates, we all understand. So that is one. Wow Momo is another one, which has created a differentiated sort of QSR story. So that is another story we have backed. Very proud backers of Nykaa in the early days. Kama Ayurveda. In apparel space, Fab India is another company that we have backed, right? So what is the common thread that we saw in these? So when we say we invest in branded business, what do we mean? We mean that at some point in time, in the life stage of a company, you will start to get delta from the consumer. Okay, so if let's say product has costed $10, because of the sheer power of the brand, you will be able to price at a certain level and still protect your margins, right? So that is one way we look at business, that is the consumer identifying with the brand. Are they going in the store and saying, okay, it's not the category that I'm going with, but this is the brand that I'm picking up, right? Like how, if you were to photocopy something, you will say, okay, I need a Xerox. That is, of course, at another level, but I'm saying, can you take the company from a very initial stage to where the founder is building business to aspiring for that level where you start to identify the brand with the category? That is something which is common across the companies that we have invested in, that at some point in time, they've gone on to become category leaders. I think it all starts with tailwinds, right? And I think India, there is no shortfall of tailwinds in each of the consumer sector. Jo aaj two-wheeler chala raha hai, at some point in time, he will aspire to buy a Maruti. Whoever is in Maruti will aspire to buy a Honda, and then, the story goes on, right? And then you get to Mercedes, and which is how luxury car sales is doing in the country. And in each category, you will see these examples. So you start with saying that, okay, in each of the category, am I going to be that leader which a consumer will buy? So in the mass car segment, am I the Maruti? Everyone is going to come and buy me. Or if in the next category, while the market may be small in premium, but will the consumer pay for my product? For example, in Kama Ayurveda, हम 1000 रुपए के गुलाब जल की bottle sell कर देते हैं, right? It was very, when we were looking at the products, we were like, okay, who is going to pay that for a small bottle of gulab jal, $1,000? But that's the power of brand. So in luxury, then you look at, that brand power saying that, okay, I want this product, I want this brand, and hence I will pay that price. So you identify between mass whom you want to play with. Typically, you look at larger size category where there is, a lot of unorganized market which can come to brands. You would look at larger scale players, and there are, opportunities you can find there, which is what we've done. In the luxury space, again, the players are very small in the country, but there you look at some of the early stage plays itself, right? So Kama, when we entered, it was hardly a crore a month sort of brand, but we saw the potential at that time itself. So that is on the aspect of just looking at macro picture, right? Then you come to specifics of the business. Okay, what is the product standing for? Something which we call as the holy grail. What is it that going forward, what is that one or two things that consumer can identify with the product? You keep on sending the message, right? What will the consumer say when they will look at that brand, and then can you build an ecosystem around it? For example, we have backed a mattress business, right? So yes, mattress is the main product, but can I also sell the whole sleep space to the consumer, which means, bed linen? Can you also get into other related categories, pillows and stuff like that, right? So can you build a business around that while your main product can remain same? So Product is not something which we as fund claim to understand at all. That is actually the first thing we look in the business, that is the product strong enough and does the entrepreneur understand and can build on the product, okay? I mean, there is no way we can, get to that level of detailing. So that is one part in terms of something which we have to derive comfort with entrepreneur on as a fund. But then there are other parts also. Product बन गया तो आप उसको sell कहाँ कर रहे हो? If you are in 3 or 4 states today, or you are a regional play today, we as fund have actually seen journey of companies where they've gone from one region to pan India, from country to various countries if that sort of market warrants it. Then the other thing is there an opportunity to do the brand building? So for example, typically in the early stages, the funds are always a constraint, and hence companies do not spend as much in terms of brand building, and they will do these, smaller sort of events or, celebrities, etc. Smaller actually influencers slash local celebrities. And then you move on to saying that, okay, if I have to take it pan India, then what are things you can do, right? Now, in our brands, right, we've backed about 25 brands in the country. Our brand put together would spend more than 1,000 crore in marketing spends in a year, right? So that is the kind of knowledge that is there in the ecosystem. We try and leverage that to help the next portfolio that we invest in, right? We build and we actually get all those resources together for the company. So product, channel, opportunity to do the brand building, and hence build that alpha for the company in terms of their expansion plan is really what we focus on when we are evaluating opportunities, right? And potential in all of these sort of leads to us investing in the brand. These are again qualitative factors, right? And beyond this then comes the numbers, economics of it, and I don't need the P&L and balance sheet, I mean the economics part of it, right? What is the ability of business to make money at the unit level? What sort of leverage can potentially come in going forward from the organization that is getting created? Has the entrepreneur, the family developed a mindset in which they are going to let the professional in and truly give them power to run the business, to be able to come up with ideas, to be able to actually create an impact, right? Because just one person cannot take the business to the level we aspire for, right? So to that extent, you have to have that ability of creating the next level of professional management, get the experience from outside. And to put it all together to say that, okay, the entrepreneur had one vision to say, okay, I'm going to reach here in next 10 years. With the partnership with an investor, can I complete that, can I actually reach that milestone in a 5-year or a 6-year time frame, right? Essentially, that is what we do.
Right. Excellent. How do you value businesses? Big question.
Very good question. Weren't you asking her that? How did she get value? But let me throw some broad parameters of how we look at things, right? It's a lot of art.
No, let me make it simpler, and we are short on time.
Yeah.
Sales, profitability.
It's a combination. So look, businesses
Or
are...
losses, actually, because a lot of businesses are very
Yeah, so
good
we
at
haven't
losses.
backed loss-making companies, so to say. I mean, even tech-oriented businesses, when we entered, the
Right.
stage was such that either the business was at break-even or they were making some money.
Okay.
So Nykaa was one such example. They were at break-even when we invested in the business.
Okay.
While we were tracking for a long time, the actual investment happened at the break-even time.
Okay.
Right? So look, there are two type of businesses, right? One is a business which has been there for a long time. Stable sort of growth you will get in terms of 15, 20, 25%, depending on the industry you are in. And there you are investing as you are growing, but there is no need to do one big investment in a year because you are building out and you have not realized the potential, right? So you are not building ahead in terms of a lot of manpower, marketing, which is what a lot of startups brand had to do in last decade or so. There we would typically look at a profit multiple, right? Because established business, you would do a combination in terms of saying, okay, growth is higher.
Right.
You would look at a combination as well. But in startups, what happened is that there is no history in terms of saying, okay, for 10 years I've had so much manpower, I'm only doing incremental. These are businesses that are growing at 100%, sometimes more, or in that range.
Right.
They have to invest ahead in terms of building technology, building consumer experience journey, building in terms of awareness about their brand, which is essentially the marketing, performance marketing, which is direct conversion to get the sales, and of course building the team, which is very, very important.
Right.
And hence they have these early losses, which are fine with us. We completely understand that it's not easy to build a brand in the country, right? So it takes that effort, but it also takes that investment, and
Right.
we are absolutely supportive of our companies to actually take that step.
Right.
In which case, we look at sales multiples.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Got it. Thank you. Thanks, Anshul. And I think we have already used our hour, but I think we had more panelists than the other panel, so we deserve more time. So time for questions. If there are any left after my question.
Hello. So I had a question, I guess, more for the DTC brands on the panel right now. So looking at the size ranges that we provide and in terms of making it viable and feasible, especially for startups, while still keeping in mind that there is a very large audience that is going underserved, if not completely unserved, say, beyond just the D cup or the DD cup. There are the bigger cup sizes and band sizes, which most brands don't really offer. So if you are trying to solve that issue while still trying to, find manufacturers where there is going to be the MOQ issues and you still want the styles and stay competitive with the pricing, so how would you suggest going about that specific issue for any new brands coming up who do want to address that problem?
See, actually, when you talk about sizing, one thing we need to acknowledge is that one size does not fit all, okay? And we have, so in Zivame at least, we have a separate curvy range, what we kind of offer. So this is especially for people who are with the, say, not the normal cups, so who need the higher cups. So we have a category which actually kind of serves out there. So where we are addressing a specific problem and it is not about fast fashion, it is not that there you are addressing a specific problem, and with that it obviously comes where the kind of product what they need is also very different than like a normal t-shirt bra, right? So there you start addressing it. The question there is not MOQ, there you are talking about customer acquisition, really solving a problem in that category, okay? And once you take a position saying that yes, you are solving that, automatically you will have consumers who will come to you for that, and your MOQ issues will kind of get solved, So I think so you need to look at it not as an MOQ, but actually trying to solve a problem in that category,
Does that answer your question?
A little bit, but also talking about, when there is a separate segment, it kind of goes into the plus size fashion brands as well, where a lot of the more trendy or more fashion products aren't really available. Like as a person who really needed to maybe access products from that category growing up, it was always the very beige, white or black options with like the thick straps and nothing that's going to be kind of cute. So when I'm talking about, addressing that segment, I guess it's about how to solve both those issues, the problem that's there with the fit and of course the support that needs to be showcased, but also for especially the younger consumers there, but still provide that fashion forward styling as well. I don't know if that makes sense.
So at least collectively I can claim that Reliance brands, between the three of us, Amante, Zivame and Clovia, we're definitely solving that problem. And when it comes to women's fashion, the obviously spectrum is quite wide. So we've picked the mass, we've then picked up the smaller bits. The one that you are speaking of specifically is a problem that's already solved by all three of us. So now there are newer problems to solve. Fashion is already solved, sizes is already solved. So now I think we will need to move on to the next bit.
From a manufacturing point of view, just to add a little bit to that, one challenge that we have with plus sizes is that it uses more fabric, more raw materials, so the cost is going to be higher. And some of the brands see it as a challenge because they don't want to differentiate the product in the market because it looks discriminatory. So mostly with the brands that we worked with, what we've seen is they'll branch out a different sub-brand or do a different segment altogether to cater to that demand. But they do feel the responsibility. So MOQ they don't actually use as an excuse not to cater to the market. They'll still do it, but pricing-wise, they might actually branch out a sub-brand.
A very interesting point, because I think all in the plus size clothing has solved this problem because they position themselves as a brand which does only plus sizes, and that's how obviously all their prices are very different from what the normal brands will be. You wanting to?
I just wanted to add one thing to it. You know, as you're getting into plus sized, one is cost, one is fashion, the second is technical performance. It's extremely difficult to crack that. It's when he says cost, it's not just the consumption, but the quality of raw material itself will have to change if you go up sizes, right? So MOQs is a big challenge. It is not an easy space to get into. You really have to sit down and work out how to crack it. It's not an easy space, but happy to have an offline conversation if that's what you want to get into.
Any more questions or? I can't see.
Hello. Yes, my question is for Mrs. Anshul. I want to understand why brands in aerospace are getting extremely high valuations. Let's say an FMCG brand would do a turnover of, let's say, 100 crores, and they would be valued at 150 crore or an 80 crore. But a similar space here for a 100 crore brand, the valuations can go up to 1,000 crore, 800 crores, 600 crores. Is what I can't understand, and I want some clarity on that extent.
Sure. Look, I think I can give you examples from public market, and you can actually see this playing out in public market also. We all wonder about how Asian Paints, even Page Industries in the sector, or some of these larger consumer brands get valued, right? And why do they get that kind of multiples? Actually, the answer doesn't lie so much in either growth or margin, right? It lies in the cash flow they throw. These are businesses which over a period of time has become so capital efficient that just the sheer free cash flow they are throwing is amazing. I mean, Page Industries, for example, just coming from the industry, has even given 2 years of COVID, in last 5 years, they've generated almost 2,000 plus crores of free cash. And they have paid dividends, which are 1,500 crore plus, right? And imagine if these were normal years, the numbers would have been much higher. So hence, it is not okay. It is not only either a sales multiple or an EBITDA multiple that you look at. You look at the kind of capital efficiency that is there, the ROCEs of the business, and apply the multiples on the free cash flows of the firm. And then you will see that they are not actually that high valued compared to a business which actually doesn't generate cash flow or is very highly levered. For every growth plan that they would need to execute, they will need to take debt, and the return for the shareholder out of that leverage that they are creating is not going to be that great. So ultimately it just boils down to what sort of returns are you able to get for the shareholders, and accordingly you work backwards on the valuation.
But is there a component involved that this industry is, in a high-paced growth, and you can grow to a much larger space than what you are in now? Does that factor come in for any sort of valuation when it is that high? Absolutely. So look, I mean, you get valued basis a size today, but you also look at, see again, PE is more patient capital, right? Typically our industry would operate at least a 5 to 6 year exit, at least I am saying. People go up to 7, 8, 9 years as well. To that extent, you are able to create a full cycle of efforts being put in on product, infrastructure creation, brand building, distribution expansion, and you are able to see results of that, right, in that life cycle. And hence you will say, okay, the business is able to utilize beyond a normal industry growth that you are getting because of these efforts that are being taken in each direction. You will get that alpha on growth, and hence
of course, there is that additional valuation that does come in for the growth. But look, I mean, who gets the advantage? Because without money, is it possible to get that growth? And hence, even the investing community would say that it's a combined effort, and let all the shareholders benefit from it rather than valuing everything upfront. What is going to happen 5 years later, you value it today. It doesn't work that way.
All right, thank you.
So I have something to say here in terms of, in one of the other segments where we did some of the deals we did, and designer wear world, and last 3-4 years many deals have happened, and one of the first deals when it was done, almost everywhere I bumped into anybody from the industry, the question was that, how the hell did this guy get so much value? Right? While the question should have been, if he has been able to get this kind of value, I should be getting more, right? Because if you feel that you are superior, right, rather than doubting that why somebody got that kind of value, you should be. So in a very simple saying which I have used very often in Punjabi, it's saying, Rees changi, hoos buri, which means inspiration is good, envy is bad. So whenever you see somebody successful, you feel inspired rather than feeling envious about it. They have got the value. Obviously, the complete equation is that somebody has paid that value. And Anshul just explained that how do they, in their mind, justify that. And they have reasons to pay that kind of value. So one should be more inspired with that. If somebody has gotten this value and we are a much better business, we should be getting much higher value. Understanding is good, but the questioning is not right. Right? The why. The question is that how do we get better value than that? And I think that's what some of the deals which have happened in the recent time in the consumer space, even for the loss-making business, there's no quizzing in that, because there's serious money being put in by very, very smart people on behalf of even smarter people into those businesses. There's a logic to that. One can try to understand, try that, but at the same time inspired by that yes, this kind of money is available. 42 billion came into India during last 1 year, 12 months, which is more than 40 billion, which is the total amount of money Indian government has put into infrastructure. So as a country, I would say as a fellow citizen, I am saying that this is the part which we all should be supporting and feeling inspired by, that how it can be done. And then within this room, it's a smaller industry, a small set of it, but so much we have seen the numbers that how much potential it lies. But you need money for that, you need funding for that. The whole idea of getting Anshul here, right, was to that she can explain, and you guys can talk to her offline as well. And there are many, many other people who are interested to invest in this industry. Be open, talk to them, look for early younger brands, I would say, seek investments, go after them. You'll understand this whole environment very, very well. Because the industry will need money to grow to the next level. Just the internal accruals can take industry only that far. Most of the industries have grown with funding coming from outside. Same formula will apply here as well. Any more questions? There's one. Can we take more questions? Who is?
One more question.
Yeah. So good afternoon, everyone. This is Dr. Karthik. We have a manufacturing facility for innerwear, and people on the dais, right from Anshul and the manufacturers, I would like to know what kind of investment opportunities for manufacturers in terms of automation, like for example for the racing costs and product diversification and all those things, so that I would like to share views, get views from both, right from investment perspective as well as the manufacturer's perspective. Thank you.
So the question is more about how do we evaluate automation investments and go about it. Okay. So apparel is one of the last frontiers, I would say, in industry where it's still highly labor intensive. I mean, almost every other industry of yesteryear that was labor intensive like this had already automated their work. I come from the tobacco industry a long time back, and 30, 40 years back there used to be rows of people rolling cigarettes, and now if you visit a tobacco company, it's a totally different game altogether, where you'd be lucky to see a person in the factory. So apparel has not come there yet, so we are pretty sensitive to that, so we are continuously looking for opportunities to automate. And there are so many parts in the production process that can be automated, and then we are automating on a daily basis. and some of it are available off the shelf with the machine suppliers, where we work collaboratively with them to scale it up to the requirements that we have. And some of it you have to design and develop yourself in terms of machine fabrication. So both go equally hand in hand in trying to automate a process. In terms of investment, so we look at the ROI in terms of time saved through that automation, and generally, because it's so labor intensive, we don't generally see a problem with finding the right ROI. It always pays back, because even more than the time spent by people sewing the garment, you actually save the time spent on correcting errors, human errors, rejects, claims, all of that go away when you automate a process that's previously done manually. So when you put all of that together, automation really is an area that will transform the industry into the future. In terms of finding investments, it's the same as any other expansion that you do, I would say. So in terms of your existing investors, bankers would really like automation as opposed to you adding 10 more machines to the plant, because this improves the bottom line. So this improves your profitability, and it improves, it sort of reduces the risk of you getting claims, and so it altogether it works better as an investment than trying to increase your capacity by adding 2 or 3 lines more to your factory. It's always better to automate something with the existing capacity, produce more, make more profits. Right. So that's how we look at it.
A very practical point, absolutely. Fully agree with you on that. Anshul, how are you guys looking at it?
Yeah, so look, I think manufacturing is actually a high area of interest for us personally. I don't think this is something very prevalent, and I'll tell you why that is the case. We feel that manufacturing is not a business where you generate a lot of alpha like how you do in brand. However, manufacturing, if run efficiently, can actually can give you good consistent margin, give you good cash flow. So from a pure financial perspective, if run well, I think it's a great business to be in. Only thing that you have to make sure is that the product that you are manufacturing has either domestically or globally tailwinds in terms of you being able to utilize your assets, because in manufacturing typically you would have your own investment in the infrastructure, right? So effectively that is what we look at, that whether there is tailwinds, whether the capacity that you have put in can be utilized across products. So for example, one of our companies was in plastic injection molding business. They can make plastic furniture, they can also make toys, for example, right? So now, with the whole China Plus One, there is huge shift coming in for toy manufacturing in the country. They are able to utilize their capacity very well, grow well, right? So those are some of the factors that you look at. Because they are B2B businesses, your ability to demand very high price multiple at any point in time in life cycle is difficult. Because the other person is also negotiating, there is a certain margin you will make. So yes, some expansion can happen, but one cannot rely on it. So we look for efficiencies, we look for these areas of growth. I think those are the 2 factors which makes a winning combination in manufacturing.
Thank you. Thanks, Anshul. So let's close the session with this. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your time, and thank you, audience, for your attention and participation.